Hey everyone, happy Monday. This is not a fake background. I'm actually in Grand Central. This is very real right now. And I'm coming to you on another Monday. For some people, it's a Monday rundown. Other people, sorry, that's my other YouTube channel. If you follow me on Say That channel, you know Monday's also the Monday rundown. But if it's not a Monday rundown, it might be a motivational Monday for you or a mindful Monday for you. But if you're over here on the Other Side podcast, you know that it is another day for us to learn a little bit together, figure out different things about our own mental health, gather awareness, learn, do better, be better, so we can be better people on this journey that we call life. So if this is the first time that you have been with me, please put a 1 in the chat so that way I know that this is the first time. I want to shout you out. So Son of Jerusalem, hey, see you on Instagram. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, this is your first time, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat there so I can shout you out. Anyone who this is not your first time, go ahead and put a 2 in the comments so I can shout you out. I love the people who come back in return. That means you're a part of the community. And I just want to say welcome. You may have noticed some new branding. We're just changing a lot of things, trying to streamline everything so that way it all makes sense and people can find, us, can find this community that we're building, these people who want to do better and learn together all at the same time. So as you know, if you're a returning part of the community, you know that I typically have like a topic or a question. Please continue to bring your questions to me. I love them because then we can go through them together. And something that came up that was an interesting topic for us to talk about is maybe it's not coming up. Oh, there we go. Can you reestablish trust? When trust is broken, when someone feels betrayed, is there a way that we can reestablish trust? And I think this is such a great question. And I really wanted to get into this because I know I've been there before where I've felt like I've been betrayed. I know that I'm also on the other end of it too, where someone probably felt betrayed by me. And so the road to rebuilding that trust is long. It's worth it. We all know that. Like when you have trust in someone and someone has trust in you, that really goes a long way. So I really thought it would be important for us to talk about this topic and go through the different things. So number one, how do you even know that trust is lost? What are some signs that you could be in a relationship where you think that you trust them, but maybe you're starting to realize that you don't. And so 3 ways that you can know if you're losing trust in your relationship or if you've lost it completely is you're constantly doubting and having suspicions about that person. You find yourself questioning your partner's actions, their motives, and you're not sure if if you don't have clear reasons, like everything just kind of feels suspicious. And if you've had clear things that have happened, that there was a betrayal, then definitely the trust has been eroded. And that can look like things like you're now checking their phone, you're second guessing their words. You might feel uneasy when they're away. Those are some signs. Another thing is that there's communication breakdown. Open communication kind of now becomes difficult to have. The person may feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. And so that, they're trying to avoid talking about certain things. They may hold back their feelings. You're now holding back your feelings, or they become defensive. So the honest dialogue seems to be lost between you guys. So this could certainly be another sign. And then emotional distance. So often when you lose trust, you lose this desire to want to be emotionally vulnerable with each other. And so there actually might be a withdrawal. And that includes less affection. They don't feel like they can be vulnerable around you. The connection with your partner just seems to be gone. I know recently within the past year that happened, and my partner specifically identified that like the connection between us two, the affection wasn't the same. And I was trying to figure it out too, like why that was. And it took me a while to even identify, like, I don't trust you anymore. That's why I'm not being that way with you. So that's certainly another indication that trust could be something that is missing now in your relationship. So let's talk about, so again, to sum that up, so 3 signs that you could be losing trust or you've lost trust in a relationship is constant doubt and suspicion, number 1. Number 2, breakdown in communication. And number 3 is emotional distancing. So, what are some ways in which you can, um, what are the reasons why this is so important to talk about, right? And it's because trust is super fragile. And there are lots of different ways that it can be broken. And so some of the three main reasons include betrayal of expectations. So a lot of times trust is built on this expectation, whether explicit or unknown. And when those expectations aren't met or they're broken, this could include things like infidelity, dishonesty, a failure to even follow through on what you said you were going to do. It can shatter the sense of safety and reliability in that person. So I think we can all say infidelity, dishonesty is something that we clearly identify as a reason why it could hurt the trust or even damage it or make it non-existent. I think we don't talk enough about the follow through aspect. I know I've been guilty of this. This is why I'm really careful with my words. If I don't say absolutely yes, I'm going to do something, it's probably because I'm not sure if I can actually do the thing. And I don't want to say that I'm going to do it and then I don't follow through. And then now it's like, oh no, Janelle dropped the ball, right? So for me, that's a big part of like integrity. And I try to be really careful with what I say I'm going to do so people know that if I say I'm going to do something, they can trust it, right? There's that word again. And so maybe there are some people in your lives, including your romantic partner, who really lacks, they're really bad with follow through. And if you're the person who is really bad at the follow through and you're wondering why your partner doesn't trust you, that could be the reason. It's like you say one thing and then you do something completely different, and that is going to cause a lot of distrust there, probably without even knowing that it's happening. So that's why I just wanted to focus on that a little bit, because a lot of times I feel like that's it's not as obvious, right, as the infidelity or the dishonesty. So another reason why the trust could be broken is that there's emotional vulnerability, and it just may not be there or may not be the right time. So trust involves, right, or requires emotional vulnerability. And so when someone breaks that trust, that's probably why it hurts so deeply, is because you feel like you've been emotionally vulnerable in that expectation or expecting the follow through and you don't get it. And so it feels very personal and hurts really deeply. And the person feels really hurt. That's where the betrayal comes in, or you feel betrayed because you feel like you were totally vulnerable and you were open. You kind of, it's that fool feeling, right? Like you were like, man, I'm such a fool. I can't, I totally believe this person. I trusted them that they wouldn't do this. And I feel like a fool because I should have known, or like there was no sign, or things like that, right? It's that feeling like I feel like I was a fool. That's like a sign of the betrayal that that person feels. Um, and often betrayal is really difficult to overcome. And the other thing is past traumas can also cause trust to break down. So for many people, past experiences of being hurt can make trust more fragile in their current relationship. Even small breaches can trigger really deep feelings of insecurity and betrayal, and this can kind of compound that damage. So again, just in thinking about what are three reasons why trust is broken. One is betrayal of expectations. That could include infidelity, dishonesty, or failure to follow through. It could be because the person is emotionally vulnerable. So when the expectation isn't met, they feel that much more hurt and that much more betrayed. And then past traumas could also be an additional or compounding factor, along with all the other things I just mentioned, that make the trust shatter so much easier or so much harder to rebuild. So let's talk about rebuilding, right? Like, what does that look like? So, um, one thing you want to do is acknowledge and take responsibility. So, if you're the person that did not meet the expectation, if you were dishonest, if you were engaging in the infidelity, if you didn't follow through on what you said that you were going to do, the first thing that you can do is acknowledge it and take responsibility. Um, that's huge because it allows the other person to see like they're not crazy. If you don't accept it, that's when the gaslighting comes in, because it feels like the person feels like, oh, did I not just experience this? Now that you're making it feel like this didn't just happen. Like I don't honestly feel hurt by this. Like, so if you honor your partner's feelings, if you honor if you respect your partner and you're trying to rebuild something, the first thing you're going to want to do is acknowledge and take responsibility. This may be hard for the person who broke it. I completely understand how that could be really hard. Being on both ends of this, it's not easy, but It's gonna take some courage. You're gonna have to be vulnerable too, and say like, man, I really fucked this up. Like I messed this up, and I'm really sorry. And so you want to be open and honest, um, moving forward, right? That's number two in terms of rebuilding the trust. You want to establish a line of clear and honest and open communication. Both parties need to be able to feel like they can express their feelings and their concerns without judgment. So that means the person who felt betrayed, if the other person who did the betrayal is like, man, I feel like are you ever going to forgive me? Are you ever going to trust me again? They have to feel open enough or safe enough to say that to you, and you can listen to that without judgment, which is really hard because you're like, yeah, but you're the one who messed it up though. So like, why should I like why should I have to pay for the fact that you messed it up? Yeah, it's going to take some time or whatever. But that's the thing. The person who did the act of betraying has to be willing, without judgment, to listen to the other person say, okay, I hear you. And yet it's going to take me a long time. I'm sorry that this is frustrating for you, that you feel like I'm still not trusting you. I just haven't yet. It's still going to take me more time. And so, really creating those spaces where you guys can be honest about that, that's where the real healing and the understanding comes from, that you're just open and honest, even about the things that really, really hurt. The third thing that you can do is set boundaries with your healing. So, establish boundaries and agree on the steps that you want to take to prevent future breaches in the trust, right? So, this might include clear communication rules that we just talked about, transparency, and agreed upon actions that make both parties feel safer moving forward. And that's up to you guys to try and figure out what those would be. So again, being honest and open about what would help is what's key. So the three things for trying to reestablish that trust include: one, acknowledging and taking responsibility; two, open and honest communication from both parties, the person who felt betrayed and the person who did the betrayal; and the third thing is setting boundaries for healing. What is it going to take moving forward for both parties to feel safe and like you're trying and moving forward? So if you're thinking, okay, so Janelle, I'd really like some strategies on like how to rebuild like the emotional bond. One of the things that you can do is you can just consistently do positive action. So um, actions really do speak louder than words. And if you're just consistently showing up in a positive, dependable way, small, consistent actions over time will help rebuild that emotional connection and trust. So again, if you say you're going to be wherever you say you're going to be there. Don't just say it. Physically be present. And that's emotionally and physically. Um, these positive actions, like don't just say you're going to do something, but like positively do something. Wake up in the morning, say something nice to each other, give each other like a positive affirmation. Well, that's more the saying thing, right? But like maybe do something nice for the other person, something that you know that they need, that maybe they is a little thing, whether it's like getting their coffee in the morning or making them breakfast or something, just like something, just be there, like show up. Being present is really huge. The second thing you do to recreate that emotional connection is make a time to reconnect emotionally. So you can make a time where it's like, hey, it's check-in time. Like, how are you doing? What are your thoughts? What have been your thoughts throughout the day? What have been your feelings? What are some of the things that you experienced during the day? It could be date nights, just deep conversations. Maybe it's a hobby that the two of you both share. Things like that are really, really helpful for reestablishing that emotional bond that you're looking for. And then here's the hard one: you need to practice forgiveness and patience, and that's for both people. I'm gonna speak first on the person who has received the betrayal, the one who feels like that you've been betrayed. You have to forgive the other person, and maybe you've gotten there, but I think what makes it really hard is, for a lot of times, it's hard to forgive ourselves because we feel like, man, how could I let somebody do this to me? I was so open and I just left it all on, bare to the world, and man, this person really hurt me. Like, I let that happen. You almost like have to forgive yourself for being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be in that vulnerable situation, which I think is hard for a lot of people to forgive themselves for being that way. And just know that you didn't do anything wrong by being open with this person. But it is going to take a lot of time, I think, to trust yourself again, almost to allow yourself to be that person. Sometimes, again, it's easier to forgive the other person for doing the betraying than it is to forgive yourself. And conversely, if you're the one who has done the betraying, same thing. Be really forgiving of your partner who's taking a long time to forgive you. You have to be patient there. Forgive them, and also forgive yourself. You might be beating yourself up so much for what you did in the betrayal that like it's hard for you to move forward and to consistently do things to help you. I'm thinking about shame again. A lot of times when we do the thing that betrays somebody, like you start thinking, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy. And if you're stuck in those thoughts, it's hard for you to do the actions that are necessary to reestablish connection and emotional bonds and things like that. So it's harder sometimes to forgive ourselves than it is to forgive other people. But it's a really important step to be like, this thing that I did was really horrible. But I know I'm better than this. I can do better. I'm gonna like be there for my partner, and we're gonna move forward. So it's not just forgiveness for the other person, but it's a forgiveness for yourself on both sides. So again, if you're thinking, what are some of the things, Janelle, that I can do to recreate these emotional bonds with my partner? Again, it's consistent. Number one, consistent positive actions. Number two, reestablishing the emotional intimacy by making time to actually reveal feelings and experiences and thoughts, whether it's on date nights or just times that you make for each other throughout the day. And number three, practicing forgiveness and patience, both with your partner and with yourself. It's really, really huge. I don't know if this is helpful for anyone. I certainly hope it is. I know going over these things for me was really helpful. So if you have found these things to be helpful, please go ahead and let me know in the chat if you have. Please share this with somebody else if you feel like these ideas, these topics can be helpful for someone else. Please, please, please spread the word. Again, I am really in Grand Central. This is real. This is not this is not fake. And I've got some other things coming up that I want to share with you guys, and I want to make sure that everyone's in the know. So guys,
you finally made the decision to write the book that you've been thinking about in your head. But how do you get that jumbled mess out of your head and onto paper so that way you can finally publish the book? And then how do you market it? How do you actually make money from it? Well, I'm inviting you to my next free masterclass on Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, where I'm going over how to earn a lucrative income by becoming a best-selling author from scratch. See you there.
That's right. That's coming up in 2 weeks from today. Make sure you go click on the link below in the description. Make sure you're there. It has been amazing to help so many people that I've been able to help in the last couple of months. And so I am just trying to widen the net, try to help as many people as I can, help more people. I know so many of you got it jumbled up in your head, and you just need someone to hold your hands and to take you through the process to get it out of your head and onto paper, because so many of you have been called to impact people by your book, by your story. And it's a blessing. I feel like it's my calling, it's my God-given calling, and I want to pursue that to the best of my ability. But the only way I can do that is if you guys come and you join me in my free masterclass. That way you can learn from it and benefit from it too. There's less than 2 months left in the year, right? And so it's go time. Got to work on your goals now to make it happen in the future. Guys, this has been amazing. I hope you've had I hope everything that we talked about today is helpful. Again, if this has been helpful for you, please share it with somebody. Subscribe, like, all of this tells the algorithm that this is valuable and more people should get this information. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. That means that you'll get a notification every single time a new episode comes on. I will see you next week. Stay safe out there and keep learning, keep growing. Take care.